So yeah, first of all, I can share my realization when I was coming here today, and I was thinking why, in this small suburb of Chicago, there are so many devotees and a lot of enthusiasm for devotional service. And then I remembered that, the name of this place is Wheeling, and so the wheel is the emblem of this place, and suddenly it dawned upon me that actually it is Chakra Tirtha, which is one of the holy places at Govardhan hill, because chakra means wheel, and of course this is celebrated weapon of Lord Vishnu, Sudarshan chakra, and Tirtha means place. So the literal translation into Sanskrit language of Wheeling is Chakra Tirtha.
Wow. Yes.
So good. That's beautiful.
Krishna's chakra, right?
Yeah, looks like you're lucky to live in a holy place.
Thank you. That's
I am lucky to visit here.
Okay.
It's really amazing. And so, yes, Shri Guru suggested that we talk on the subject of the present situation and
If everybody wants needs it.
all the anxieties and fear and instability which is happening around, and what is our response to it as spiritual people. I don't know if that's relevant.
Who wants this topic? Because Maharaj can speak about anything you just name. He's traveling preaching for more than 40 years, right?
Well, no, 32.
32 years.
Just a beginner.
He can he can speak about any subject. So is this subject good? Like
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe if you can, just tell us your opinion about connection in between this fear, anxiety, and sicknesses that now many people have even more often than they used to.
Doctor and also Jennifer, they also have a clinic.
All right. So, from which clinic?
Jennifer and her husband, they have a chiropractic clinic in North,
see.
very close to hospital.
All right. And we'll again read from Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is universal book which covers all the subjects, including fears, anxieties, and everything else.
I think we have a better.
Yeah, better. Okay. Om Agyantamidam Shalokaya Chakshuram Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yen Bhutare Swayam Rupakadam Madhavati Swapatantikam Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhudevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All together, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vadai Mahatriya Mahabhara Vibhu Nirmaya Kshayate Yadamusha Purusha Om Te Gnan Sudasa Sudasatmaka Kasishta Bhagavan Vacham Same Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namah
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, this is chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called Transcendental Knowledge. No, actually, maybe we can read from chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. And this is text 50. No, text 14. Sorry. There are so many wonderful texts in Bhagavad Gita, it's hard to choose. Famous text by Srila Prabhupada's Grace. Matra sparsastu kaunteya shitoshna satkadokadagamapayino nityastam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sayana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It's very cold at the time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas. And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. Because by knowledge and devotion, one can liberate himself from the clutches of Maya illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharat signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. So, our whole life is fighting. And it's very interesting, this situation with the pandemic, unseen enemy, and as in any war, the enemy attacks without any warning, without declaration of war. Actually, there was a kind of declaration of war, because in the late 19, early 20, we have heard about it, that it's something which is happening in China, and as normally, at least myself, I wasn't really thinking that it will spread too far and too fast. So I was in India, and I heard about it, then I went to UK, and when I was in London, I was thinking, I'm going to do my 15th round the world, and was planning for that. And then what happened was, anyway, to cut the long story short, our temple and our community in London, in UK, which is called Bhakti Manor, a famous manor which was a gift by George Harrison to Srila Prabhupada, and huge building and huge community, large operation. It's kind of not only UK but the entire Europe headquarters of ISKCON, of Krishna consciousness. And so somehow, by dint of destiny, it became the first hotspot of the pandemic in the entire ISKCON. And in brief, the details were that the president, the late president of the community, he was battling with brain cancer, and he was very dear devotee to many, and he was preparing to depart from this world because it was uncurable. And then he left, and everyone was thinking he left from the brain cancer, but few people who were meeting him, and he would get visitors like at least 1,000 a day, like that. And because he did a lot for the community, so he was very prominent leader. And then many people noticed that he had very strong dry cough at the last days. No one knew what it was. Anyway, he left, and then there was a ceremony of farewell for him. So his body was placed in a small room like that, and devotees were filing in and out of the room. Of course, no masks, no social distancing, nothing was practiced. No one knew that it was required. So, and apparently, because he died of coronavirus, pretty much everybody who was there got infected. And all the devotees went through to bid farewell with him. And icing on the top of the cake was his memorial evening. Again, the whole community came together, all active devotees. I was there as well. I was not at his funeral, but I arrived by the time of his memorial. And then, again, mixing very closely. And in a few days, I actually heard before that there were some cases, some instances of devotees getting coronavirus. And actually by the time 2 devotees were in ICU and 1 devotee already left his body, obviously, diagnosed with COVID-19. But anyway, still we were not thinking it was serious. And in a very short time we started hearing that many devotees in the community were tested positive. And of course, at the time there was no cure at all. And hospitals didn't know what to do with it. They were sending people back home to either survive or die, one or the other. And I suppose that variant, UK variant, was pretty severe because literally in few months' time, I don't know the exact number, but more than 20, close to 30 devotees left their bodies. And it was pretty sobering experience that we were at the temple, and whoever was in ICU or left, devotees would put the picture of that devotee next to Prabhupada's seat, asana. And so every day new pictures were added, and it was like, wow. And then, the temple was shut down. We had complete lockdown. No one was allowed in and out. We were thinking that the temple devotees can, be protected. But then we found out it was too late, that everyone in the temple was also infected. So all of us. And then temple devotees started getting symptoms and going into quarantine. And with so many people dying around and us staying in, we were thinking, who will be the first one of us to depart? And we pretty much accepted the inevitable, that not all of us will survive. And we were thinking, it's too late to cry anyway. We can do nothing about it. So if we are to die, at least let us die in style, and let us have nice kirtans every day and nice discussions on spiritual topics, etc. And the funny thing was that, the cooks who used to cook, because Bhaktivedanta Manor, is hosting like thousands and thousands of devotees, like couple of times a week there are massive weddings happening, and best cooks were there in the temple, and they would cook, all these feasts. And so suddenly they found themselves isolated from nothing was happening. And so they started exercising their cooking skills on us. We were like maybe 50 devotees in a lockdown altogether. And so instead of cooking, they could not cook massive quantities, but they were cooking like loads of preparations. They increased the number of preps. And so, it's like you come to the line to get all the preps, and you tell the servers, please 1 spoon. But then by the end you get to the end of the line, you end up with a mountain of prasadam on your tray, and it's like bending under the weight. And you look at it and you wonder, how will I manage all of this? Because prasadam is sacred, right? Cannot be thrown away. Anyway, I noticed that I started putting up weight while in there, which never happened to me before. Anyway, I was thinking, I'm going to die soon. What difference does it make? So, anyway, we had good time like that, and there was one devotee who really had a lot of health issues, and then he was tested positive. He got symptoms, taken to the hospital, tested positive, but the hospital said we can't do anything, take him back. And we were pretty confident he has 0 chances to survive with such a frail health. But then he was quarantined for a couple of days, and then he felt better, and then he started attending all the programs again, and we were thinking, this is surprising. And the same thing was happening with all of us, that at the worst kind of scenario was maybe 2-3 days in bed, and that's it, and then back in action again. myself, I didn't even miss any day. I felt some symptoms, but I didn't care. And then, nothing happened to any of us in the temple. But so many congregation devotees died, even though they were isolated and everything. And it was funny because we had, a devotee who is like the appointed doctor for the community because he has a high position in the hospital. And so he could not come into the temple, but he was watching through the cameras, when the class was happening. He was looking at all of us, and he would put in the chat, "Come on guys, you're sitting too close to each other, you have to keep social distance." And we were like, yes, okay. And then we would tell to each other, don't let him, see, don't turn the cameras on during kirtan, because then he would die of heart attack, seeing that there is no social distancing, nothing, right? Because, we were thinking, what social distancing, come on, we're all infected anyway, so what difference will it make? It's too late. But in retrospect, I'm thinking, so many congregation devotees died, but even though of a good health actually, and still they didn't survive. And nothing happened to any of us. Of course we can say, we were in a lockdown with Radha Gokulananda, with the deities, so it was the best lockdown situation possible. So the Lord maybe protected us because we were dancing in front of Him or whatever. But, this kind of esoteric side can be taken into consideration as well. But I was thinking from purely medical point of view, from what I know, and the professionals can either confirm or object, that social interactions, especially cordial interactions, they are actually boosting immune system.
Correct.
And social distancing weakens the immune system.
That's right.
And so, plus another thing is that, trying to kind of protect yourself from virus completely, staying in an atmosphere which is totally, what do you call it, antiseptic. What it actually does, because immune system is not getting any, virus, it does not work. Gradually it stops working. So, it gets weaker. Like, the body without getting exercises gets weaker. So immune system without getting exercises also gets weaker. And so I was thinking that and plus the fear factor also weakens the immune system, because if you think I am almost dead, then, probably you are as good as dead anyway. And so I was thinking these three things from scientific point of view possibly contributed a lot to the fact that, this is what happened to our congregation members. Fear, social distancing, and, lack of stimuli for the immune system to fight with the virus could as well be seriously contributing factors to why it happened. And so And for us, we just step over that fear because we were thinking, okay, we're already as good as that, but let us at least happily live the few remaining days. And we really tried. And so, and I'm coming to this country, and it's very interesting to see the difference between here and Russia, because in Russia you walk on the street of any city and it's like 9 out of 10 people are not wearing any masks, and you walk in here and it's 9 out of 10 people are wearing masks. So it looks like the entire country is in a state of total terror. Everyone's horrified. But Russians, they have this mentality. They're not
It's
really
not a question
bothered.
of mentality. I'm sorry for interruption, but it's not a question of mentality. The question is in political situation, because COVID is created for this reason, especially for this country. So that's why, for example, now could I have a minute?
Yeah, sure, please.
Because, for example, people who had already COVID, they have immunity for at least several years. Some doctors say that it's could be for the rest of their life, but they are frightened to death, and they are wearing masks. They want to be vaccinated, and actually it's very dangerous if you had already a disease, infectious disease with some immunity, of course, antibodies, and if you inject something in your body again, you may get a lot of problems. But in this country, they say, no, natural immunity means nothing. Only a shot will give you a lot of immunity and protection. And now they said that it would be one shot, then they say, oh no, it isn't working forever. Now once a year, then it's one in 6 months, and now they suggest to do it every 3 months. And in UK, for example, they already considered to do these vaccinations every 6 months, 3 months. But this is stupidity from my point of view. But that's maybe I'm...
Yeah, Russian doctors are actually saying that if you have it, you're much better protected than with any
But there is no difference in American and Indian people, in Russian people. Human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry is the same everywhere. Mentality is different, from my point of view.
Yeah, but somehow Russians are much less affected by the propaganda. That's obvious fact. And
I'm sorry, last time I checked, the vaccination rate among adults here in the United States was over 75%. In Russia, it's about 33%. So no matter what the government does, they just wouldn't,
Wouldn't budge.
they wouldn't budge, yeah.
It's like Russians are dying, but don't give up. They never give up. This is what they say.
And I know that in Moscow, for example, the mayor of Moscow suggested to give a car to the people who actually coming for vaccination, but they didn't come.
Here people do it for donuts.
And so
Maybe because in Russia, from my point of view, actually in the former Soviet Union, education was quite different from American style of education, and that's why so-called Soviet people, they had more knowledge about history, about maybe even physiology, anatomy. But Americans know that if you don't want to know about it, you will never go for these classes.
yeah.
Whatever they say, you accept it. Oh yes, I will do it. But why are you doing it? For what reason? What you should expect in future? They never ask.
Yeah. Yeah, and to continue the story, it's like I was there at the manor, and of course, the first wave was pretty severe, no one knew what to do. And then the kind of first wave started subsiding, and I got really tired, sitting in the same place for so many months, because I have to admit I'm really addicted to traveling. I'm travel addict, and so I was, looking for the opportunity to escape, and then I asked my spiritual master, what do I do? Because I'm so tired of sitting here. And he said, well, the whole world is in a lockdown, but actually Russia seems to be pretty flexible. And so if you go to Russia, probably you'll find a lot of opportunities for traveling preaching, which I did. I kind of went through Europe on the way, Germany, Switzerland, and then, there were no direct flights with Russia, so my flight was actually cancelled a number of times. It's so funny, like you buy the ticket, and then, a few days before the flight, they say that your flight date is moved to another date, and then that happens a few times, and then they say, sorry, your flight is cancelled, you can get your refund. And so for like more than a month I was trying to, get on the flight unsuccessfully. Then I realized there are no direct flights with Russia, so I went through Belarus, and then from there devotees picked me with a car, brought me to Moscow. And once I was in Russia, that was it. I was traveling as normal, because it's like Russia is really funny place. There are rules, and everyone talks about the rules, but nobody follows the rules. It's like you go to the airport, and they specifically announce at regular intervals that everyone must wear masks and gloves, and those passengers who don't have them, they won't be served. They will be denied boarding, right? And these announcements are going on, and you look around, and not a single passenger is wearing nothing, and even the staff, none has any gloves, and some of them have masks on their chin, and that's it. So, Russia is really
They are smart, huh?
interesting place.
Was you the only person who had mask? Was you the only person who had mask?
Me? Well, like if I wear a mask that my ears go hurt like that, and so I have trouble going on things like that. So, and in Russia they joke that you have to wear a mask to make sure that coronavirus would not recognize you. But it's and also they say, like, we live at such a wonderful times that before we had masquerade just once a year, and now we have it around the year. Every single day is a masquerade. And so, anyway, I was traveling, and I stayed with infected, like tested positive whole family. I stayed in their house. They would tell me, they would invite me to stay with them, but they would say there is a little problem. We're all tested positive. Would you mind staying with us?
The test is 50% actually false positive, so.
And then I would
So
say,
they take your fortune.
I would say, who cares? Sannyasi is dead man anyway.
I don't
And
know
so,
if you know, sorry for interruption, why I am probably too talkative. Actually CDC banned this test in July 17th.
okay.
They issued the rule that this test should not be used anymore because it's completely unreliable.
Unreliable.
The PCR
But
test? The PCR test?
yes,
Mhm.
so but because all hospitals, all organization everywhere already bought for millions, all that stuff. They ask to postpone it till December. So
Oh my
beginning
God.
January 1st, this test should be banned for sure, because they said because it is not accurate, they will advise something else. Nobody knows who it would, what it would be, but this PCR test should be banned for sure, because it was already banned.
Mm-hmm.
But because people need to get money back,
To get their profit.
and that's why they are pushing all this stuff.
Interesting.
But we'll see what happens in January.
I think also like the issue is like with like when it was like now that it's like mostly political pressure and it's more so like that it's like taking the freedoms away from people. So how to like live and act when we want freedom, spiritual practice, and in the society like that government or like elites tries to close everyone and stuff that tell you what to do. Like basically like Soviet Union in the 50s or 60s.
I think everything depends, on a governor or mayor. For example, in our state, our government, the governor especially, wants to show his power, that he is the greatest, the smartest, the whatever, although he knows probably nothing. But in other states, in Florida, I think in Arizona and somewhere else,
Ohio.
yeah, they don't care. They're just smart people and say, there is no any transmission, there is no such a virus at all, nobody have seen it. Show me where it is, how it looks like. These pictures with, horns actually is just computerized, picture. That's it. But, of course, 90% of all people are frightened to death. And I have such a patient, they're frightened, like that, one vaccine, second vaccine, third vaccine.
Yeah.
Why, if vaccine is working, why you should get the second one? So it doesn't work, right? But if you had already COVID, maybe you're very, very lucky because you've got immunity for the rest of your life. And of course people are dying, but people are dying from flu as well. About 36, to my knowledge, thousands of people die, about 36,000 of people die every year because of flu. Because they got not a virus but pneumonia. But pneumonia could develop because you're a smoker or you have chronic lung disease, or you're a weak person, a very elderly person, and you haven't protected yourself. So there are a lot of people who are dying every year. And last year, we didn't have any flu. Where is this flu?
Yeah.
They count it as a COVID. Okay, so these numbers actually go to these numbers. That's why they're frightened. And if you are not smart enough, if you don't want to learn, if you don't want to ask, of course you may be frightened to death and die.
Yeah.
I have a question. May I ask you a question? When you were crossing international boundaries, did you have any requirement to be tested or to show your vaccination status as you were
to
going?
come here?
No, when you were going across Europe to Russia and then to
yeah.
come here.
No, at the time there were no such requirements.
How about to come here?
Coming here, I was required PCR test, and it was only checked on my way out of Russia at the boarding. But upon arrival,
Here, nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
That's
It
how
was October, it was before November.
Yeah, but it was late October, so if I would come in November, probably the rules would be stricter. This is what I was told. But yeah, it is true that people can die from fear much faster than from actual problem. It's like one true story that there was a worker at the railway hub, and he was doing something with refrigerator cars, doing some work with them, loading, uploading, I don't know what, checking, testing, and then he went inside of one refrigerator car, but it was already closer to the end of the working day. And another worker was passing by and he saw the door open of the refrigerator car and he didn't bother to check if someone's in. He just shut the door.
Oh my God.
And so this worker was inside of the refrigerator. And of course there is no way to open the door from inside. And so he froze to death in the morning. But the interesting twist to the story was that the car was disconnected from the power and it was a room temperature. But because
the
he was
fear.
thinking, I'm
fear.
inside of the refrigerator and I'm freezing to death, that's why he died. So actually his mind killed him rather than the cold. So, mind over matter, that's kind of
That is
serious
something.
thing.
Actually, it's a very well-known actual issue because many years ago, I don't know exactly 30 years or 40 years ago, there was like experiment with a prisoner killer who was should be executed on the electric chair. So he put him on the electric chair for execution, and then actually there was not electric power, they just switched the light. Boom, boom. And the prisoner died
Oh my gosh.
without anything on the chair. So from that, time, actually doctors began to realize that actually our fear, our thinking could make us either healthy or sick and even die. So that's why probably we have so many problems now, because for example, if you permit me to share one experience, I work with a guy who is about maybe 55 years old, very strong, very knowledgeable. He is in medical field, and so he began to cough, very mild cough, a temperature about maybe 90 centigrades, about not centigrades, Fahrenheit, and about so it would be about what 30 less than 38 centigrade. So nothing, no cough, no smell, whatever changes, nothing. Okay, and he immediately ran to make a PCR test. The test came positive. We don't know was it false or not, because 50% could be false positive. Okay, he frightened to death, almost. He couldn't talk. He couldn't. I know him. I asked him, because he called me if he cannot come, and he said that I asked him what is going on. I'm dying. I have COVID. I said, what is going on? You are a healthy young man and you are dying. And he said, yes, but I have a COVID. Then he ran to the hospital because he had shortness of breath. He spent there one night. They did nothing. They actually discharged him. And he was sick for about maybe 7 days, and then he decided, yes, I need to go to Mexico. And he went to Mexico and came back healthy like I don't know who. He forgot immediately about his COVID. But this reaction to these words, COVID plus, actually made him like, I don't know. I was so surprised because never ever I could expect it from this young guy, knowledgeable with medical education, could react this way.
If I can share a personal story, so related to fear and what your own mind can do to you, to your body. So after we had our first son, like 9 months after, it actually started happening right away, but most likely it especially hit me 9 months after he was born. So, and what hit me was the postpartum depression. And it got so bad that I couldn't believe it was happening to me. So I felt like I was dying. I felt like everybody around me was dying. I would, look at the baby in the crib and I would snatch the baby because to me, I could clearly see the baby was turning blue. And he would say, no, nothing is happening. And I was seeing the baby turning blue. So like real crazy things were happening to me. And at the same time, a friend of mine died of cancer. So at that point, I developed fear of cancer. Really, it was really, really bad. So and then there was a good side to it. Now that I'm talking, I just realized something. This is when I started listening to my body. I started paying attention to my body because any little sensation, I would be like, cancer. Literally any little thing, I would be cancer. So, and I would run to the doctor right away. And everybody prescribed antidepressants for me because they couldn't find anything wrong, like nothing life-threatening. A whole list of like health problems, but nothing life-threatening. And it took me, and I lost so much weight, and I could not concentrate. I was trying to run away from myself. I couldn't be home. I couldn't be outside. My ears were ringing. My head was spinning. So, and it took a good 2-3 years of constant praying, constant working on myself to actually get out of that state. So, yes,
I'm
but
glad
it was
you're
a
back.
blessing.
Yes,
Yes,
we are
but
happy that you are here.
it was a
I'm glad
blessing.
you're
Yes.
Okay, right? So the problem actually is that according to the Western medicine, there are only 3 ways to heal cancer: surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. And everybody knows that it doesn't help. So if somebody tell you that he or she has a cancer, it means that whatever they do, all 3 procedures, it doesn't work. For 3 years, for 5 years, but maybe 10 years, but sooner or later, this particular person might get again the cancer, the relapse or metastasis, whatever, and the end is very close. That's why everyone actually is frightened to death when they hear this word, cancer. The problem is that there are about, from I know, 100, even more ways to heal the cancer, and these ways were tested by people on themselves. There are a lot of books. It is called like metabolic oncology. When you change your lifestyle, you do not feed cancer cells. They have nothing to eat and they die. But nobody will tell you because you could just change a little bit. There are a lot of people, you could find actual testimonies on YouTube who just begin taking some antiparasitic drug and they heal themselves. They were told that there's a very famous guy, for me he's famous, who was told that he would live maybe about 3-4 months. He's not a doctor, he's not a biologist. I don't remember who was he. I think a gardener or something like that. He began to learn. He found out there is a protocol created in Boston University how to heal the cancer with antiparasitic drug. He got this drug. He was taking this drug for I don't know for how long, and now he lives I think about 3 years. He's in good shape. He shares his experience, and there are a lot of different people. I know about 10 techniques or 100 techniques that actually could be combined together, because everyone actually is looking for his own, way. Some people take this antiparasitic, this type of drug, another takes another type of antiparasitic, antiviral medication. There are a lot of, diets that could be helpful. There are a lot of stuff, but people do not know about that because you cannot actually find it if you are not looking for it. In any case, for example, in her case, why she was frightened, Because everyone, oh, cancer is the end. No, it's not the end, it's just the beginning from my point of view. Because you have to learn, it's a sign that you need to learn something. And if you begin learning, you should win. Because cancer is not a genetic. Cancer is not a problem that you get just because. It happens because something is wrong in you, in your body. The first actually could be stress and your thoughts. If you change it, you can be succeeded. And I think a month ago in Tennessee, there was a huge conference of so-called cancer survivals. But these people, there were about 2,500 people who came there, and these people survived from cancer not because of chemotherapy, surgery, or radiation. They survived and they share their experience, and you could find them. There is a website called the cancertruth.com, and they share it with other people. But how many people knew about that and know about and want to know about that? And actually, from my point of view, it's just a sign for a person that he or she needs to do something in her or his life. Something is going wrong. And if she or he finds out what's wrong and could change it and make a commitment for new thoughts, for new style of life, for new diet, for new eating, for new approaches, that's how all these people actually survived. And each of them actually was using just one single or maybe two different approaches. And they share it, so we could combine everything to, in one treatment plan. But who knows about it? I shared it with one surgeon who actually, he was operating especially in oncology, and he said, "Oh no. That's just sorry bullshit. No." But these 2,500 people who gathered there, it's not a bullshit. It's an experience that they share. And the problem is that that's again from my view, that every sickness, every disease is just a sign that this particular guy, a person, should change something. And COVID, thanks to it, because now people begin thinking about vaccination. They never thought about it. They never look inside of these vials. Where is the virus? Show it to me. No. Nobody saw polio virus. Nobody saw hepatitis B virus. Nobody saw it. Because it's combination of techniques how they use for so-called diagnosis. Nobody saw any inclusions in this, liquid, whatever they put in these vaccines. Now, again, thanks to COVID, they begin to investigate because they began to investigate ingredients in these, vaccines, and they found out, wow, what is it? Is it a parasite? Is it a crystal of something? Is it a graphite, that could destroy your life? Now they begin to look to other vaccines, and they found out that the same stuff is in this vaccine that they injected all the kids. Now they begin to investigate who actually got this, problems. And now they say that, for example, measles are shredding through vaccinated kids, and kids who get this, contact with a vaccinated kid and another kid could get measles. And before, nobody before even thought about it. And if you could say that, be careful, don't touch, unvaccinated person, why? If you have been vaccinated, why you are so afraid of healthy people or other people? You are protected or you are not protected. Now people begin to understand that they are not protected because one vaccine after another if you were vaccinated.
So we're talking about statement of mind.
Yes.
All around statement of mind.
Yeah.
Right?
So when you begin to learn, when you try to investigate the problem, any problem, not because of cancer on not because of COVID. When you begin to investigate the problem, you definitely will find out where these legs are growing from, right?
It's mean statement of mind or path of belief. We believe, everybody believe in something.
My
Okay.
parents were doctors. I had, so-called Soviet communist medical education. Then I came here. I completed residency and fellowship in this country. I never ever thought that this vaccination is a problem at all. But when I begin doing my practice, when I met with the parents of autistic children, because I work with autistic children, and they began telling me that the kid was fine. He was no alphabet. He knew alphabet, but after MMR shot, in a week, he became speechless, autistic. He was like completely mentally retarded. But other people will say, "Oh no, it's a coincidence." When I began my practice, my husband, you knew him, he was laughing at me. He says, "Are you stupid? There is one autistic kid in 5,000. Actually, before, maybe 40 years ago, it was one kid in 10,000. When I began my practice 20 years ago in this country, it was one kid in 5,000. Now it is, make your best guess.
One in a hundred.
One out of every 50 or 36 kids?
Yeah, it was 33, now it's 22.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So boys are more often than girls. They say that in 2030s there would be no healthy kid. Everyone will become autistic. Is there any reason for it? Because they cannot learn anything. They cannot work. Who will be taking care of them? If we gone, their parents are gone. Who will be taking care of these invalids?
Yeah,
Nobody.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
why there's
yeah.
so many.
We got.
There's so many special education.
Yeah, special
Special
education.
teacher. It's
Now we have
it's every corner. in our-
teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but these teachers do not live forever.
Yeah.
They will be gone. Who will be taken for? Who will be feed them? Who will be give them food? Cook for them? Taking care of them? Who?
Yeah.
Nobody.
There's so many special education schools.
And
just in
actually, for
our-
example, this genius without any education at all,
Mhm.
Bill Gates, he doesn't vaccinate his kids.
Mhm.
Several years ago, he said, no, my kids are healthy. You could find it on internet. My kids are healthy. They don't need vaccination. Why? If it is so healthy, if it is so important, because he knew. All of them knew.
I don't know much about medical science, but it looks like immunity is a natural protection from God,
Of course.
and if you have healthy immunity system, that's all you need in life.
Mhm.
And healthy immunity comes from healthy lifestyle, both physical health, mental health, and spiritual health.
That's it.
And so this is what Vedic culture and Krishna consciousness is about. To train people how to live healthy lifestyle. But yeah, fear is the biggest factor, and that's why I totally agree with Russian stand-up comedian who said that the worst, there is only one worse thing than coronavirus, and that is the people who are afraid of it.
Exactly.
But this is one important thing for all of us to work on overcoming fears. And of course fears can be objective and subjective, and it's really important to distinguish.
How would you suggest working on overcoming the fears?
Well, there are different ways. of course, the best way to overcome fear is understanding that everything is in God's hands, and who is He, as the last verse of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, that He is the friend and well-wisher of everyone. And so that's why it says that Krishna consciousness is the ultimate solution. If we understand we are in God's hands, then, why should we be
Be
afraid of
afraid.
anything?
Exactly.
And it's like when we were discussing the cancer subject, I remember a funny story. There is one devotee in London, and he is elderly gentleman, he's professor in some university. So he got cancer, and he was aspiring to get initiation from Radhanath Swami. But Radhanath Swami is known for making his prospective disciples wait for like long time, years and years, maybe 10 or more years like that. And then he was diagnosed with a cancer, and the doctor said that he won't have much longer to live, maybe a year max. And then, they suggested him to do is it radio or chemotherapy, which makes all your hair fall out?
Chemo.
Chemo. Anyway, he went through chemotherapy, and he said, neither my hair fell out, nor the cancer. Nothing what happened to the hair, nor the cancer. So nothing changed because of chemotherapy. So they said, it didn't work, so you won't have much longer to live. And then he actually approached Maharaj, and he said, this is the situation. I won't survive for too long, so if you could, make an exception and give me initiation, without me having to wait a standard length of time. And because one other Prabhupada disciple, he spoke in his favor, so, requested Maharaj to make an exception for him. So he agreed, and he actually gave him initiation. And he was the only one to get initiation on the day, which was like special kind of treatment. And then, he became happy, okay, at least I can die being initiated. And then next time he went to the doctor, and they, checked his scan, and the doctor said, what happened?
Thank you.
Where is your cancer? It was completely gone, like nothing, as if it didn't exist at all. Interesting. True story.
There are very, very many stories about that. For example, I was working in the USSR National Cancer Center in Moscow, and at that time, I never believed. I also knew that there are only 3 ways to treat cancer. So what happened once? 2 surgeons were doing surgery on one patient. At that time, many years ago, there were not so many diagnostic tests, no MRI. We had CT scan, but that was just the beginning of computer tomography at that time. So they opened the body and saw that cancer actually was growing almost everywhere, to the liver, to the spleen. So there was no way to remove the tumor. So they just closed the body. And they said to this particular patient that, we did the surgery, so because at that time nobody, especially in the Soviet Union, nobody actually told the patient that he or she had cancer. In this country, they work like preachers, they say, oh, you have to live only 3 weeks, or you have to live only 3 days, or 3 years, no more. In my time there, actually doctors never said to the patient that he or she had cancer, and the prospects, for living, for longevity, no. So they closed his body and said that we did surgery and discharged him. These two doctors, they loved hunting, and about probably 10 years later, they went to Siberia or somewhere far away from Moscow, to the woods. And because they were very famous, usually, it's of the Soviet Union, if you go somewhere, you have people who actually invited you, followed you, and helped with accommodation. So these people, took these two surgeons to the deep in the woods, to the hunter who was living there. And for the surprise of these two surgeons, this hunter was their patient. They didn't help him, but they just told him that everything is okay. And he was living. He was healthy like like hell, because he was hunting. He had a wife. He had children, and he lived in the woods. And he was very happy. And of course, he was very glad to see these, surgeons, because they saved his life, right? So they came back to Moscow with a lot of meat, deers, all that stuff. That's one story. Another story,
But let's Maharaj also finish.
Huh?
Let's Maharaj also finish the point.
Okay.
Like how to.
Okay, finish, and then I might tell another story for a person who lives here. Not in Wheeling,
I already
but
forgot what I was talking about.
Okay, then
Fear.
you try to remember. I'll tell another story. There is a guy who lives in, I think it's Niles or Morton Grove, so not far from here. He was very, very successful businessman in Chicago. So, very, 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 very rich. And he was diagnosed with a cancer. And he decided, he always wanted to live on the seashore, on the ocean shore, on the beach. So he sold his business, took his wife, and bought a beautiful house, very, very expensive house. He put almost all his money to this, house on the ocean beach, in California. So he lived there because he was said that he would probably live 1 year or maybe 1.5 years. So he lived there for 3 years. He spent all his money. He became very poor, and his wife actually left him. And he didn't have any friends because he was very, he was just sitting watching the sunset to the sea. And he actually returned without any money back here. And now he lives in a, how they call it?
Nursing home?
No, not nursing home. He's healthy. He lives.
Nursery home?
No, it's not nursery.
Assisted living.
Yes.
Assisted
Now he
living.
lives in assisted living, building. He has a small apartment, and he's healthy. He has no problems.
Ocean heat.
Huh?
Ocean heat.
Yeah, just watching sunset actually healed
And
him.
relax.
There is another case. I don't know. I know her because, not personally, but because now she is a tutor for that kind of healing. Actually in Europe, I think it's in Slovenia, Macedonia, something there. She was diagnosed with leukemia. She had her own business. She went somewhere, I think, either in Switzerland or in Sweden or somewhere in Europe. And she fell in love there. She came there for 1 month to finish all her business things and everything. But she fell in love. She forgot about her business, about her cancer, about everything. So she returned back, healed, and now I think for 3 or 5 years, she looks beautiful. She is actually holding these, seminars for people who want to change their life and to heal themselves. So there are a lot of people who without any treatment, without any metabolic oncology, whatever that I was talking about, just because of love, because of sunsets, because of all that stuff. Just change a little bit something in your life. Forget about the problem that they said you will survive just for 3 days, and that's it.
It's actually a very important point.
Это
Like,
какое вот nature consciousness and сознание, сознающий Бхагавадгите.
Nature, that's 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Nature, consciousness, and
It's very interesting in Bhagavad Gita.
enjoyer.
enjoy.
Nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness.
Yeah, it's more in details, more in philosophical details explain actually what's going on.
Actually, just 1 second, like it is something that came very important, like when you just wrote, like we just went to Israel and we have very good friends over there, and she is a high level doctor. She has her clinic, and she's a doctor like you, like for how many years? For 40, 50 years. And she told us that 95% patients who come to her don't want to get healed.
Wow.
So it's
Because they don't believe in it.
no,
No,
not
no.
because of that.
No.
Because of how to say it's second benefit, because that's what also we do in our work. Because even like I think Mike and Israel also got it, the disease plays certain role, protects from something, and or like depression is too much stress. So like the disease has some reason. So like first you need to see that and detach from it. So but yeah, that's what she said, 95%. 95% of people just want to use it, but not to really.
But I think it's not about cancer. Of course, everyone wants to survive. Everyone wants to survive. The problem is they don't know that it is possible because they were frightened to death.
Yeah.
And there are only 3 ways that's how you could survive. Either one way or all 3 ways, and you could survive, but not. You cannot be cured. That's or healed. Okay, they could help you. You could live a little bit longer, but that's it. I have a very good, maybe not friend, but colleague. He is a very famous ophthalmologist. He's American. He is very, very wealthy, and just recently, after I don't know if there is any connection, but anyway, he was vaccinated, and about 2 weeks after or 3 weeks, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma. This is the most malignant tumor in humans and in the brain. Okay? So I told him, I know several, especially glioblastoma, because it's so malignant that all these metabolic, approaches were especially tested and tried on people with this particular, especially kids, with this particular type of tumor. They decided he wanted to be operated, but they said it's too late, so the only way is radiation. Now he goes every other day for radiation. I told him, I know at least 100 ways we could combine everything to help you, especially with this type of tumor. Yes, it is very malignant, but let's try. He has money, he's very, wealthy person. He said, I don't want it. I have no time. I have to do a lot of things, a lot of papers, I need to take care of my real estate, I have kids, I need to prepare them for my, living this life, this world. So everyone makes his or her own choice.
Interesting point.
Huh?
I'm busy. I'm very busy to work on my real health because my mind is busy to do so many things
Yeah,
outside.
preparing, my living over there. So I think that this is just, and again, you know, he has education, medical education.
It doesn't matter. It's on
Yeah, but you know, you may open internet. You may open internet and just type other treatments or whatever, metabolic treatment for, you know, glioblastoma. You will get 55,000 papers published in scientific journals. He didn't do it. I did. He didn't. I offer, you know, my knowledge to him. I said that I could help you. Let's try. At least what he is losing, he was told that he will live about 3 or 4 months. Now he's spending his time for radiation, so radiation will give him what? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Okay, 5 weeks. Okay, 3 months. But he doesn't want even to try. This, of course, it's some mental, I think. Not a disorder, but attitude, you know. Because he doesn't believe in that. He believes in the radiation, but they honestly told him that actually it's a very short period of time that he could survive.
So eventually point of beliefs, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a very good topic.
So, where were we?
But it's quite amazing,
Yes.
you know, that it's like in our society there are two, and this point was made by one devotee. I never actually thought of it. One of our very prominent leaders, Bhakti Maharaj, he traveled to America and he was infected by the virus and he left his body. And in a very short time. And it was a complete surprise because he was totally healthy, like best of health. And when he was going into the hospital, I saw the, you know, photos of him, and he looked so happy. You know, he didn't look sick at all, and it was a big surprise that he left. So, but then there is another very prominent guru in our society, and his name is Swami Maharaja. And he went through stroke, and you know, which made half of his body paralyzed, and then he had like number of other, because brain was affected, so he had number of other health issues. And then lately he had dysfunctional kidneys and liver, and so he required liver and kidney transplant, which he did. And then they are giving him immunodepressants, you know, to make sure that the organs are not rejected in the body. And so he is on these immunodepressants and basically zero immunity in the body. And you know, he has maybe 60,000 disciples, and so he's like protected from all sides, and everyone's like worried if he gets virus, that's gonna be it, because he has no immunity. And no matter how much precaution they took, and of course his secretaries are interacting with him also. One of the secretaries was it even, so he infected him, basically speaking. And everyone started panicking, you know, now he's infected and that's it. And you know, there are tons of doctors, including his disciples. He's monitored like every single second, you know, what's going to be happening, what do we do, which way do we move, virus is there. And the time is going, and you know, he shows no symptoms at all. And I think he got like dry throat or something. That was the worst symptom he had, not even cough. His body temperature didn't change. They monitor every single parameter, right? And so the virus was staying in it and nothing was happening, and finally it disappeared. And this devotee, he made a point that if you would tell people hypothetically that these are our two senior leaders, one has perfect health, the other one's health is practically does not exist, they both get infected, which one would you bet on to survive and which one to leave the world? And so, the bet was totally wrong.
So
Totally wrong.
I want to share something because we have COVID, but we didn't even know we had it. But I think Ali had it first.
Yeah.
Well, we had it several times. We had it in.
One time.
No, we had it twice.
One time. It
You
was
already
in the-
lost count.
Yeah, yeah, because it was when you came back from there that we had the cough, the dry cough.
That was December of 2019.
Yes, and she had it first, but yours was kept consistent. But I got it, and mine was very fast, really fast. We didn't even know what it was, but we were just coughing, and we went in Thailand and we were spitting everywhere, and we were. In Thailand, there are a lot of hills, and we just take 2 steps, but we got over it. We didn't even know we had it, thanks to her, she was very strong, and she protected me. We didn't have complications, we walked through it, But not everybody's the same.
But from the observation, it looks like this particular disease is totally unpredictable, and it's very obvious that it's basically in the hands of God, basically.
Yeah.
The whole population. And another interesting twist with this particular spiritual leader who left unexpectedly, even though he was in the best of health, that later, it's like when he was coming here and everyone was telling him, US is really in a red zone for the virus and you should not go, your age is, you're at risk. And he would say that, my disciples are there and they work on the project, and why should I hide, when my followers are at the front, of the battle, why should I hide behind? So whatever happens, let it happen. And so he went, and he left this world. But then I came across his offering to Srila Prabhupada in 2013. He wrote that offering. And basically that offering was saying interesting thing. He said, because he was serving Prabhupada personally.
Bhakti Charma.
Bhakti Charma, yes. And then he was saying, Srila Prabhupada, in 2013, I'm really missing you. Everything you wanted me to do in this world, I've done, and I've done much more than that. And, few of my god brothers and god sisters, they got great fortune of leaving this world and joining you wherever you are, and please let me share that great fortune. Basically saying, I have zero interest to stay in this world, I want to be with you, let me go. And so basically, Krishna just fulfilled his desire. And then I realized, because it's like someone is sick people would not be happily smiling. He was in a hospital ward. He was beaming with joy. That's why it was like total surprise how he could live. And he didn't look sick at all. And then very quickly. So again,
So for him it was opportunity just to live.
it was just an excuse
Mhm.
to live this world.
Mm.
Do you know what Lord's plan is with this pandemic?
Yeah. But it's like a lesson, and it's, well, first of all, the biggest problem with the people that they think they're gonna live forever. But the pandemic shows that it may not be the fact. Because when so many people die around, it makes you think, I might be the first, I might be the next, right? So that's, and there is a very ancient Latin proverb, memento mori, right?
Mhm.
Remember that you're mortal. And that actually gives tremendous benefits. Anyone can think of any benefits if we remember that we are mortal. How does it help us? Of course, we are immortal as spiritual beings, but we are talking about this life. That this body, Jatasi Dhruva Dhruva Janma Amritasi, as Bhagavad Gita says, anyone who is born will sure to die. And so, if we remember that, how does it benefit us? Anyone can share your thoughts?
At least be more. We should appreciate our lifetimes,
Yeah. Go out for it.
to use it maximum to approach our goal.
Just travel as much as you can. Eat all the food that you like.
Yeah, that's the main point. That if you know your days are counted, and it's like we live, I think, 30,000 days. That's it. From cradle to grave. 30,000 days, and that's all. And most of the days are already gone.
We're in November now. December.
Yeah. And so if we know that our days are counted literally, then we wouldn't be wasting our time. We would be really serious about our lives. So yeah, this pandemic is extremely sobering for most people. And plus it has so many like, and plus it has so many side benefits. It's like, again, from Russia with love. Some of the Russian Orthodox priests, they love eating meat. And so, one of them, he got COVID. And probably some of you who got it, that not only your smell, but your taste changes, right? And so after he recovered, he said, every time I have any meat preparation, it tastes like rotten.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yay.
Cardboard.
Wow.
No, like it's rot. Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes like something rotten, and it's so disgusting I cannot take it. I remember the previous taste. I'm craving for that, but I cannot take any meat preparations anymore. And he said, it's so sad, but I have to become vegetarian. So.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the. And Ali, you might be right. I might have gotten COVID twice because.
Yeah, I know
the-
we did.
Yeah,
We
the
had it
second
twice.
time I got it, I was it was I lost my taste. I didn't taste or smell anything for a very long time, so I kind of stopped eating.
Me too.
Yeah, everything that I would taste is just like
For a couple of weeks I was eating only like bit of salad, and that's it. I couldn't take anything else.
I remember when we had COVID, all I could do for like 4 days, I was only drinking date tea. That's it. I could not eat anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
great cleanse.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. I feel like this topic is for me right now.
What about
Yeah.
taking little
Jennifer,
prasadam?
we are loving you.
I'm okay. Huh?
We are loving you.
Thank you. I
At
love
least-
you all.
Huh?
Smoothie.
Not the yoga.
Thank you so
At least
much.
take some smoothie before you leave.
A little bit.
Maha.
Thank you so much. And it was nice meeting you, and I hope to see you again in the future.
Thank
We
you. Thank you
travel.
for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Pleasure meeting you.
So yeah, and it's like our spiritual perspective on things is that nothing happens without God's will. So it's a part of greater master plan for actually changing the world and changing people's consciousness. And so, I mean, so many things. And plus, I heard very interesting thing, and maybe Ali knows about it. That I've heard, of course, I don't understand Mandarin at all, but I was told that I think Prime Minister of China, he made a national address to the country, and he said, "Come on, guys, this is the 4th pandemic, and every single one of them started with China, and every single one of them started with meat eating, like mad cow disease, bird flu, swine flu, and now the coronavirus. As we know, coronavirus started with
Pigs.
Bats.
Yeah, and
What is
pig
that?
factory.
Bats.
Bats?
Bats.
No. I
Anyway,
thought that was AIDS.
started from this market,
They
big
still
market
pork, yeah.
in Wuhan, yeah. And so he said, like China keeps giving the world pandemic, and it all starts with meat, and we have to stop it. And I recommend the whole country go vegetarian.
Who says so?
Prime Minister of China.
Yes.
So, and there are like scientific articles I read personally. The Guardian published an article. 2 very prominent scientists who are, very clear on this point that meat eating is destroying the world, and it's like with the COVID, it's very clear that they say that it came from bats, but why bats come to live with humans? Because their natural habitat is destroyed, and their natural habitat is forest. And why forest is destroyed? To have more land for pasturing grounds. Why do they need so much land for pasturing grounds? Because of meat industry.
Yes.
So, directly or indirectly, this is just a karmic reaction for meat eating. And so, and they describe all these facts, scientific facts, and they say that we either stop eating meat now, or if we don't learn the lesson that COVID would seem to be like a child's play, or a little preview comparing to the next pandemic, which would be taking lives of so many more people, and young people and healthy people too. So we either, stop now, or we'll be facing, the entire human race will be extinguished.
Regardless.
Yeah. So it's very interesting times we are living in.
Mm.
So it's point of consciousness.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a great learning curve for the whole planet. But it's very inspiring for myself personally, at least, because there are massive changes.
For me, it was the best time of my entire life. I will not change it because beautiful things happen to me. So
Yeah. Me
thanks
too.
to COVID, because if I wouldn't have the time to do certain things at home or stay at home.
If I may, I also add this. I heard this another person describing the virus as everything comes from the divine, right? Everything comes from God. Even the virus is a gift to us, and in a way, the person, he said, when he received that virus and he was sick, he actually he felt like it was an upgrade to his DNA, that it's doing something to him to improve him, to for the next level of the development of consciousness or physical or whatever. I mean, I like that because that's much better than fear, but and in a way it does changes genetically.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, after I got that, I don't get sick with anything at all. And it's like I travel and I associate, like I said, I lived in the house of fully infected people, fully infected family, no masks, no social distancing, no nothing.
Just kirtans.
Huh?
Kirtans.
Yes, everything. And then, they were cooking for me. And I was just curious what will happen. And on regular basis, I get some kind of very faint symptoms, like little bit of cough or something like that. And I think this is what's happening, that virus is there all around. So it comes in, tries to attack, but because, body already, there are already antibodies, so body is fighting with it, and then produces more antibodies, and so next time another dose of the virus attacks, it produces more antibodies, and so it's like you don't need any vaccine.
or a booster. No more boosters.
Yeah. you cannot imagine better booster. But yeah, I mean, personally, I didn't mind, leaving this world, because I've got nothing to lose anyway. I was thinking, okay, if God wants me to stay, I don't want to imprison myself, because there are stories of people fully in a full lockdown, completely quarantining, in a complete quarantine, and they would still get infected. So it's like this virus is completely unpredictable, and so it's like I don't know when I will die, but why should I make my life miserable? So if it's all in God's hands,
This is the point. Prabhupada said so.
yeah, why should I make my life miserable? I want to live a happy life, no matter how many days I have. I still have left, and everything else is in God's hands. So, and but this is what I realized: if you are happy, then your immune system is at best, and so that actually is the best possible protection. from anything. You know the story how, which illustrates the fact that if you are positive, if you are happy, then no trouble can ever touch you. You want to hear the story? So there was one guy, and he was, that was in India, and he was a staunch devotee of Lord Ramachandra. Here we have Lord Ramachandra, the warrior king defeating the vicious demon Ravana. And so he was totally focused on Lord Ramachandra, and he saw everything in his life as mercy of the Lord. And so he came out of his house, and then while walking down the street, he saw a gang of robbers, robbing some people, and he stopped, and he was, watching what's going on, and then, police arrived, and they arrested all the robbers, and because he was standing nearby, they thought he's part of the gang, so they arrested him as well, put him in prison. And in few days he was standing in front of the judge, and the judge was asking him, so tell me from the start, how did you end up in this criminal group? And he said, your, what they call it, your honor, right? Your honor. On this day, I walked out by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, and this is happening in India. Everybody knows about Lord Ramachandra and everything, and devotion. So by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, I came out of the house, and I saw these criminals. And by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, I decided to stop by and see what's going on. And then by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, police came and they arrested everyone, including myself. And by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, I was put in prison. And now I have a great honor to talk to such a, highly posted man as yourself. And the judge is thinking, this guy is fooling me. He's pretending to be a saint. So just maybe to avoid, consequences. And he became annoyed, and he said, so everything in your life is mercy of Lord Ramachandra? He said, yes, it is. He said, and what will you say if I will, by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, lock you up in prison for many years? And the man thought for a second, and he said, oh, it's gonna be very special mercy of Lord Ramachandra. And the judge looked at him and he said, he cannot be a criminal. He is too positive, let him out of here. I think it is true. Because anyway, I experienced that in my life. And I saw so many other cases. If you are happy, and real happiness is coming from realizing our relationship with the Lord, then no trouble can touch you.
You're not going to take this trouble, right? Like you're not going to accept this trouble.
Yeah, as the mercy. So whatever happens is happening by the mercy of the Lord. So, shall we have a little more gift at the end?
Oh, Makita? Oh, okay.
And more opportunities for people to practice.
Oh, right. Oh.
You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, fine.
So
Mercy of the Lord, right?
Yeah, for Hare
Nonpermanent. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Wonderful.
And he showed when Karim playing guitar and Annie playing piano.
Sure.
Maybe Ali can play
Why
some
not?
piano while we have Rasayana.
Yeah. You want to play?
Preparation for night kirtan.
No, I'll play while you're eating. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
With Karim?
You can play? Yeah, we can play.
Sure, we've
Alright.
done it before.
Are we talking about right now?
Yeah.
While they're
Right now?
eating. We're like a
let's do it.
band. We're the entertainment.
Let's do
while
it.
they're
Yeah, let's
eating.
do it. Let's go do it.
We're
Please.
Yeah, they're
Eating.
eating and we're playing.
Yeah. All right.
Alright.
All right.
Demon band.
Exactly. We're entertainment.
Спасибо, Махарадж. No, нельзя. Здесь только
Слушай, это женщины не касаются. Стоп. Садись.
Ничего страшного.
Это ничего страшного.
Ты не знал.
Потому что вирус не берет.
Да.
Ничего не берется.
Я в этом не разбираюсь.
Что женщины разбираются?
Нельзя касаться стоп сделать.
Касаться стопы.
The woman cannot touch the feet of a man.
Почему? Во Вриндаване, да?
Иногда
Во Вриндаване.
А в чакра-тирте нельзя.
Что это А что? Рамбаги массаж тоже делают?
Ну это другое что-то.
А благословение можно попросить там?
Хорошо.
Хари Кришна, Хари Кришна.
Есть случай.
Надо выключить.